Hi, Todd Burns here with Homebrew Happy Hour. Today I'm going to show you how to clean a corny keg. I say that with hesitance because it's called by a lot of names. Corny keg, soda syrup tank, homebrew keg, all kind of the same thing. There's two types of these. There's ball lock, which this is, and then there's pin lock. This one has a single handle on the top, but a lot of them, probably the majority of them, have rubber handles on the top, but they're really all the same thing. What really makes them a corny keg is this lid. So this lid gives you a good opening that you can work with when you're filling it with beer and doing other things, including when you're cleaning. So I took that off quickly, but let me show you how this works. First of all, you want to make sure it doesn't have any pressure in it, so you pull up on the pressure relief valve. If you've got a pin lock keg, which doesn't have a pressure relief valve, you want to find the gas post. A lot of times the gas post will say in, but it also will almost always have these little grooves in it, whereas the liquid post will not have those grooves, and that's how you can tell it's gas. And if you just push down on this, you can release the pressure that way as well, if there was any pressure. So you pull up on this, and a lot of times these are going to be kind of stuck because they've been sitting a while. So you push down, and then I turn it to the side, and I just pull it out. That's all there is to it. And now you've got the lid off. So the next thing that I normally do is I rinse this keg. Now I will say that some people, when they clean a keg, they want to take these posts off and they want to disassemble them and clean all of that. I don't do that. Everything that touches the beer I can clean without removing the post. One of the things that happens sometimes when you remove post is you might have a problem with a poppet. You may, if everything's working and you don't have any issues, I really feel like you don't need to remove the post. When you first get the keg, if you want to remove them and clean everything up, that's fine, but you don't need to do it every time. It's really not necessary. I've cleaned our company has probably cleaned in the tens of thousands of kegs, and this is the way that we normally do it. So next thing I'm going to talk about is Brew Clean. Brew Clean is the cleaner that we typically use when we're cleaning kegs, or actually always use, but it's real popular with people that clean kegs. It's specially formulated for this purpose. That's what we made it for originally. So first thing I do is I turn the keg. By the way, I'm going to mention this keg is dirty. I don't know if you can see that, but it's super dirty inside of there. I actually found it, and somebody had stuck it in the wrong place, and it has had this beer crusted in there a while. Has a bit of an odor. It's a dirty keg, so we're going to work on a dirty keg here. So you can see I'm giving it a really good rinse, and I'm going to look in there, and a lot of that already came out, so it already looks better. So there's two ways you can do this. If you got one that's really dirty like this, one of the things that you can do is put your Brew Clean solution in there and just let it soak for a while with just a few inches of water. But this one, I say it's really dirty, but it's going to come right out, so I'm not worried about it. I use about a full rounded tablespoon, which is obviously more than a tablespoon of the Brew Clean. This normally comes in a bag. I just have it in this, so it's easier for me to take in and out because I use it a lot. So I put a rounded tablespoon of that in, and then I'm going to go ahead and use this. This is hot water, so this is coming basically right out of my hot water heater, so it's pretty hot to the touch. It doesn't really need to be any hotter than that. That's fine. In fact, it doesn't even have to be that hot. Whatever the temperature of your hot water heater is fine. I realize not everybody has a hose connection to their hot water heater, that you could just use a sink and put it in here, or there's lots of ways, but you want to fill it up with hot water. So let me get it full, and then we'll show you the next steps. Oh, you're back. Okay. So I got the keg full now. Let me get a sip of beer. Ooh, Stubing Brew House. Shout out to Josh and his father. Thanks for brewing a beer for me. And providing the glass. I appreciate that. So I've got this full, but I'm just going to make sure it's full to the very top. I'm just taking a screwdriver. You can use an ice pick, anything sharp, or pointed, I should say, not sharp. And see how nothing came out of there? That's the gas one. But when I push on this one, you see how that shot up the top? That's completely filling everything that touches the beer with that Brew Clean, and we're going to let it soak in that for about an hour. So we will be back in 1 hour, hopefully sober enough to finish this video.
1 hour later.
All right, so now, ESB, also brewed by Stubing Brew House. Thank you, Josh. So we've got this completely full. It's been sitting for an hour, and now we're going to finish. So what we would do now is I'm just going to make sure that these are got liquid in them and they're ready to go. And by the way, if you want to, this is pretty clean, but you can always clean the outside just by spraying it. A lot of times what I will do is I will mix this up. This Brew Clean's good for a while. I'll just transfer it to the next keg that needs to be cleaned, but I don't have one right now, so we're just going to dump this. So I'm going to dump that out. And once it's dumped out, first thing I like to do is push again on this tab and this one so that I get whatever was in there out, and then I can go ahead and rinse this out again. So what I like to do is turn it upside down, and I just shoot it up in there and really get that thing cleaned out good. One thing I forgot to mention, because we're doing a video, is I will also take that, whatever that Brew Clean solution that was left over. If I'm doing another keg, I could always mix some more up, and I'll drop this lid in it, or you can actually just drop the lid in like this and let it hang if you got it totally full, and you can clean it that way. It doesn't totally submerge it, so I like to usually throw it in a bucket and let it soak. Usually when I'm cleaning kegs, I'm cleaning several of them, so it makes a lot more sense to do it that way. So now that I've got that done, and we've got this keg clean, I'm going to dump it. I'm going to hit these again, and now I know I've got all the old liquid out. I just usually lean it up against something and let it dry upside down, and we're done, except we're not done, because I'm going to show you how to take the post off and disassemble that in case you ever need to. And let me tell you some reasons you might need to. Let's say you pressure test this when you're done. You've got a leak in one of the poppets, or you've got, some other leak or issue that you're worried about. You sometimes need to take these off and replace parts and do that sort of thing. So we'll do that next. So now let's do those posts. First thing I want to talk about are the different types of posts. So you have the ball lock that we talked about here. Some of you may have pin locks which just have pins protruding out of here. If you have a pin lock, I'll cover that first. This socket is made for a pin lock. So it will actually go into the pins, whether they're 2 or 3, it's cut out so it fits both, because it has 4 holes in it, and between those 4 holes are slots. It will do either side of the post. Now, ball lock. You have this, which is a 11/16 socket. That does some of the ball locks. Usually if you have 11/16, a 6 point is fine. If you've got 7/8, this one uses nothing but 6 point. You will have some of the older Cornelius brand and some other ones that sometimes will have a 12 point and a 6 point. You can usually do either with the 12 point, but I don't like to, mess the threads up, so I keep all 4 of them so I can do any kind of keg and not have to worry about it. But for this one, obviously, we just need the 6 point. So I'm just going to put this on here, and I'm going to pull it off. And this is the out, which means you're going to have a long dip tube on this. So when we take this out, we're going to pull this dip tube. And now that you've brought this apart, I would probably go ahead and replace this O-ring here. You almost never need to replace these because they're inside and they don't get any UV light and they don't get moved around very much, so they're usually fine. But if you've already got it apart and you've never replaced it, it's a great idea to replace it. The next thing is the poppet valves. This particular one is a little hard to get out. This brand, pretty familiar with it. This is an AEB or a, so I cannot get that one out. It is jammed in there, but what I need is a dowel, and like a pin that I can take with a hammer and hit it out. Because this one's kind of jammed up in here, you can actually see that. Pretty unusual, really, but it's jammed up, and it needs to be taken out and replaced. So I'll take this out, and then I will show you how to use a universal poppet valve, which I think is a great option because it'll allow you to not have to know everything about the keg to order poppet valves. It works with all the different kegs. So I'm going to show you how to get this poppet out, and I will tell you this is about as stuck as you will ever see a poppet. So it is out now. Look how it's been up. I've had this keg for years, never had a problem with it. I would say I've had it for probably maybe, I bought it it was a brand new keg. I've probably had it for 5 or 6 years, and I'm not exactly sure how that got messed up, but if I had never taken it apart, I wouldn't be doing this. Here's a universal poppet. You can see it's very different than the original, but they're made so that they will pretty much fit everything. So what I like to do first is get a little O-ring lube and put that on here, because I probably won't take this apart for a long time. I'm going to just drop it in there, and it will line up the way it needs to. And then, actually, I'm just going to drop it in there. I'm going to put it on here and push it in there so that I know I get it lined up well. And, oh, the little piece of spring just came out of there. So it was actually, see how and now it's nice. And that was a little piece of that poppet that jumped out, that just fell out of there. So now that I've got it like that, I can just take this and put it back on here. And tighten it. And now I have replaced that post. I didn't put the dip tube back in because I was trying to show you how the post goes on. So you know what? Just take a second. I'll pull that back off since you've seen my handiwork there. Put a little of that lube on this O-ring. Push that back in. And put that post back on again. And you can see how it goes on nice and tight. Now, this thing is sealing perfectly. I can push it down. I see how it seals. And this will probably be good for a very long time. With a fresh O-ring, new lube, really, you could use it for years without having to take it apart, as I've done with this one in the past. It's do the same thing on the other side. It has a short dip tube, but everything works the same. So now we've showed you how to completely disassemble. We've showed you the lid. We've showed you how to clean it. We've got a nice clean keg now, and we are ready to put some beer or water or whatever we want to drink in it and carbonate it. And we have a forced carbonating video you can watch as well. And this keg is ready to go.